The U.S. economy is on a roller coaster ride, and the latest GDP figures are here to tell a story of ups and downs. Get ready for a deep dive into the numbers that shape our economic landscape. In the second quarter of 2025, real GDP experienced a boost of 3.8%, a significant increase from the previous quarter's decline of 0.6%. But here's where it gets controversial. This growth was primarily driven by a decrease in imports, which is a subtraction in GDP calculations, and an increase in consumer spending. Investment and exports, on the other hand, took a hit. The real GDP growth was revised upwards by 0.5%, mainly due to an increase in consumer spending. From an industry perspective, private goods-producing industries saw a 10.2% rise, while private services-producing industries grew by 3.5%. However, government value-added decreased by 3.2%. Real gross output increased by 1.2% in the second quarter, with private industries showing a mixed bag of growth. The price index for gross domestic purchases also increased by 2.0%, reflecting inflationary trends. Real gross domestic income, GDI, increased by 3.8%. But the average of real GDP and GDI was revised downwards to 3.8%. Profits from current production saw a downward revision of $58.7 billion in the second quarter. The annual update of the National Economic Accounts provides a broader perspective, covering the period from 2020 to 2025. The updated estimates show that real GDP grew at an average annual rate of 2.4%, the same as previously published. Real GDI also grew at a similar rate of 2.3%. For the first quarter of 2025, real GDP is now estimated to have decreased by 0.6%, a slight downward revision. Real final sales to private domestic purchasers increased by 1.9%, the same as previously published. Industry-wise, private goods-producing industries saw a downward revision of 5.9%. While private services-producing industries increased by 0.4%. Real gross output remained steady at 0.6%. The price index for gross domestic purchases increased by 3.1% in the first quarter, a slight downward revision. Real GDI is now estimated to have increased by 1.0%, primarily due to updated data on corporate profits and compensation. Profits from current production saw an upward revision of $42.8 billion in the first quarter. Stay tuned for the next GDP release on October 30, 2025, at 8:30 a.m. EDT, which will provide an early glimpse into the third quarter's economic performance. What do you think? Is the U.S. economy on the right track, or are there concerns that need addressing? Feel free to share your thoughts and insights in the comments.